What's up guys, welcome back to the video. In today's video we're gonna be learning about lambdas. So before going into the video, I would appreciate you guys liking and subscribing the video, and feel free to comment. So let's go into the topic. So first let's see what a lambda is. A lambda is a small anonymous function. So anonymous function is nothing but inline, no name kind of thing. So lambda is just like inline function which can be written in just one line, and it is kind of like a temporary function. But since we are learning about basics of lambda, it's not kind of like temporary. You can use it at anywhere you want. So let's see how Python takes, or how do we write a program on lambda. So lambda uses the keyword lambda, which is pretty straightforward, and then you pass the arguments. So you pass x, y, or whatever name you want, followed by a colon instead of equals to, equal sign, and then expression. So expression is basically nothing but what do you do with those arguments? Do you add, subtract, multiply, or anything it might be? Lambda can be printed everything in just one line. So you can print lambda, or like you can perform calculations, everything in just one line too. So basically first we are going to learn how do you do on two lines. So next, lambda can have any number of arguments, so you can pass any, and you have to have the same number of parameters. And also you don't have to use all the arguments in your expression. So that's how this lambda thing works. And now let's see an example using lambda. So first you have to take a variable named a, or you can take whatever you want, and then with lambda, and we have to pass some arguments. I'm gonna take x and y. So I have two arguments right here, and now we can as I said, you don't have to use all these arguments, but for now I'm gonna use it. I'm gonna add these both, and now you can use in two lines, which is basically you're gonna print. And now to call a lambda, you use this parentheses, which is basically calling like a kind of like a function, and lambda is also a function to say. And then you pass the parameters 5 and 6. So it's gonna add these, which is gonna print 11. So let's say I don't give exact number of parameters. So basically it's just gonna give a type error, as you see a type error, because it's missing one argument. So that's how these lambdas work. And now, as I said, you don't have to use it. I can even add 8 to it without worrying about my arguments. As you see, it still prints. You don't have to use y or whatever the argument you have, so you don't have to use it too. So let's say I just want to add 8 and 8. I just don't even have to do it. As you see, 16. I didn't even use any argument over here. So lambda doesn't know what are you using the argument and everything else. It's fine, you can do that too. And now let's see some more examples using lambda. As I said, you can write lambda in just one line. So first you have to print it, and now you just use the parentheses, and then this time you're gonna write lambda, and then you pass arguments x, y. I'm gonna add this time x plus y, and then you use another pair of parentheses. So basically it's kind of like three pairs of parentheses, and in this place you pass the arguments. So let me see what is happening. So this yellow parentheses you can see are the print statement thing. So if I these inside this part, these parentheses are the lambda one. So basically that's the place where calculation is doing, and this place is the calling part. And if I run this, it had to print us 12. As you see, 12 prints. So you can even print lambda in just one line, so that works too. Now let's see some programs using lambda. So these are the three programs we're going to be learning about today. So first let's see what these programs mean. Check for the greater number using conditional statements. So if you don't know what are conditional statements, they're basically if, else, and elif. So if you don't know what are they, you can go check on my if, else, and else if statements, which are pretty basic, and they're pretty good. They're pretty good tutorial too. And square a number. So to square a number, you use these two pairs of these symbols. So instead of one, you use two of these. And now this is the third program we're going to be focusing, and this is kind of like the hardest program of all for some people. And this basically states find even and odd numbers in lambda. So that's kind of pretty hard, but still we're gonna learn it. So first let's see the program check for the greater number. So first let me delete this real quick. And now let me use the program. First, I'm creating a variable named a, and this time I'm gonna access this lambda, and as usual I have to have my arguments x and y, and this time I have to use the if condition. So how do you use if condition in this? Because they take 2 lines, 3 lines and everything. If you focus and read my video or see without skipping, you would have known something called ternary conditions, which are basically the conditions that can be written in just one line, and that's the condition you use in this. So first we're gonna print x if x is greater than y, else you have to print y. So that's our ternary condition in this. So now we just don't have to use the print statement because we already have over here, so we just basically can call like this. I'm gonna give 6 and 7. So basically it's gonna print 7 because 7 is greater than 6, so that's how this should work. And now if I give 8, it's gonna print 8. As you see, that's how this conditional statements work. So this is the part where our the ternary condition is, which is basically one line statement. So now we understand how these ternary or even the checking for the greater number in lambda works. And now let's see another program. First let me delete this, and now let's see this. So this time we have to just square a number. As I said, to square a number is pretty easy. You just use these two symbols 2 times. So first we have to create a variable a equals lambda of, let's take arguments x and y as usual, and this time we have to square it, x of 2. And now we just are squaring the number, but this time we don't want to square it by 2, but we want to square it by y. So it's gonna square by the number which we pass, and as usual we have to print this. We're gonna give the parameters, let's say 2 and also 7. So I don't know what actually is the square of those, but it's 128, so that's computer calculation. So I hope that is correct. And now we have to see another program called find even and odd numbers. So basically in this program we are seeing we are checking if it's even or odd. So first we have to remember 2 things. We have to see the operator percentage. Basically in real life we call this percentage, but in Python it's called modulus, which basically checks the remainder of the particular number. It cannot check the remainder for a string because it's just text. So that's how this modulus work. So we learned about first thing. Now let's see another thing about this program. First we have to see that even numbers have the remainder 0 and odd numbers have the remainder 1, which is basically modulus of even number is 0, modulus of odd number is 1. So now we understand how squaring a number works in Lambda. So now let's write the program. Let me delete this real quick over here. And now we just took a argument over there, which is x. Now we have to do the colon obviously, and now we just make the lambda check if it's correct or not. So basically the lambda is checking if it's correct or not, like kind of like a conditional statement. Now lambda works. Now first we have to use the modulus. That's why we learned this modulus. X percentage of 2 equals 0. And now it's gonna return, if it's true, it's gonna return to this as true. But it's not gonna store in it because it's a variable and it can only store this one. But it have at some point, at some place it is true. So first we have to call it, which is a of, let's take 6, so which is basically even. And now we have to store it in one variable. And now we just have to say if y equals true, and then let's say if it's true, and then it have to print is even, and if it's false, which is basically else, it have to print not even. So that's what it have to print. And now let's run this program. So it's obviously gonna print is even, so that's how this should work. Let me say what is actually happening in here. So this part defines the lambda function, which is calculating the remainder of the 6. So if it's true, it's gonna return 1, which is basically true, which is basically in programming language it is true, and if it's 0, it is false. So even I could say print y if y equals 1, it's gonna print is even too. But if I say equals 0, then it's gonna go to the else statement, so it's gonna print not even. So true is also kind of like the number 1, and also false is the number 0. So that's how this is even and even program works. So now we just completed all these programs. So that's it for Lambda functions. See you in the next video. Until then, bye bye.